Amazing Mike Man. I'm here. Shinuslaw invited me on the stream. Most people know me as the direct guy. I've topped at least four online tournaments with Jirax, a rogue deck, and yeah, and I'm here for the discussion.
Hey, amazing Mike, man. I'm super happy that you're here. Glad that you already told the stream a bit about yourself. Can you tell us a bit more? Like, I'm interested a bit more. Like, who are you? Can you say, hey, where you living right now? Do you have like anything else you're doing besides Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah. Right now I live in Los Angeles. And I'm currently working on becoming a data analyst.
Oh,
I was in the
nice.
Marine. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I was in the Marines for 4 years. The U.S. Marines, and then I got out after 4 years. And then I did security for about 3 years, and now I'm working towards getting certified as a data analyst because that's what I did in the Marines.
Yes,
Yeah.
nice, nice. I did a lot of data analysis in my last job, so I mean, I can. I hope you can go for it. I love data. Like I love watching at data. Maybe that's something for the future. I have a lot of data on Tengu format myself, and I love that Tango tools. The website has so much data on which is the best deck, what is the win rate. I mean, even though it doesn't have a big sample size, I'm always happy to read that and just dive into it.
Yeah, me too. It's a lot of fun. I think my favorite part of it is the visualization of it.
Ah,
Um,
hmm, hmm.
yeah.
I yeah, I'm super bad at it, unfortunately. But
Oh, really?
yeah, I'm not the visual kind of guy. That's okay. You told us a bit about yourself, but I mean, did you have like a special Yu-Gi-Oh journey? Like, do you play constructed Yu-Gi-Oh? Did you ever play constructed Yu-Gi-Oh before?
Yeah, and just by constructed
Yeah,
you mean like advanced Yu-Gi-Oh,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I really got into it in middle school. I used to read a lot of manga back then, and I read the
Mhm.
Yu-Gi-Oh manga actually. That's what got me into it. I wanted to play the game. And I went to my local I got a Roid structure deck actually. This is way back like
Nice.
2010, maybe 9, 2008 maybe. This is a long time ago. Um Got the Roid structure deck, went to my local card shop, and I was just some kid pulling up with a a Roid structure deck. I wasn't very competitive, but I made some friends over time, and this was like actually during like Edison Tengu Plant era up until I want to say wind up format September 2012. I played during that time
Hmm.
back then, but I wasn't really like good. Like I maybe entered like one like I would go to locals a lot, but I didn't actually like compete like that. I just sort of played with my friends. So I didn't. We weren't really good at the time. We didn't even understand card advantage. We just sort of played
Oh,
like
yeah.
back then when you were kids, you didn't really. You just played with whatever cards you had.
Yeah, I
Uh,
still remember. I started with like the first structure deck with the Yugi Kaiba structure deck, starter deck in the
Okay.
beginning, and
Hmm.
I still remember we didn't understand the cards because we bought in English because it was out like 2 weeks before the German, and we didn't know what anything did. So we played Trap Hole like it was Sakuretsu armor because we just couldn't read it.
Yeah.
But
So to be clear, we could. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
uh,
Did I cut you off?
yeah, I just said yeah, all good. I just said yeah, that was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, it was totally fun back in the day because like anything was viable. you know. Um, I played like Ojamas and like Burn and stuff. And back then, to be clear, for us, we did read the cards. We did know what they did. We just
Mhm.
weren't like good, if that makes sense. Like, I would think that you could discard Dark Worlds for cost, and they would get the effect, like that type of thing. I just didn't really understand like the nuances of it, like how I do now.
Um,
Um,
but
yeah,
to be honest, this is also super difficult. Like if I want to get people into Yu-Gi-Oh, a few of these intricate things, like I said, what is the cost and why is discarding for cost something different than discarding? I think that's something that may be a bit too confusing for new players. So I totally get that.
yeah. Oh, and to answer your question about like constructed, and advanced Yu-Gi-Oh, I took a break after like wind up format, and then I
Hmm.
eventually got back in like 2017, right when Links came back, like spiral format.
Hmm.
Um, I played from then up until about like right after Thunder Dragons came out, like middle of 2018, a little bit after that. I played for a while then I deployed for a bit, so I had to take a break, and then I came back in like I think 2020 or 2021. So I've been a little bit on and off with constructed in the past, or with advanced in the past few years. But I do play competitive. I played dinosaurs.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, but that's good. I can tell you, I recently got back into it, and one of the first decks I now bought was Dinomorphia to also have Dino
Nice.
DNA. Yeah, because it's a
Mhm.
cheap one, right? That's
Yeah.
basically the reason. But it's also fun to put up the big Dino. Um,
Mhm.
so we know you at least. I know you from playing Tengu format. Is there a reason why you chose to play Tengu format as your Time Wizard format?
Yeah. Well, for a few reasons actually. First, because of nostalgia, because this is like the era I grew up on of Yu-Gi-Oh. It's like my Synchro era is like my favorite. Especially like early Xyz too, because you have access to like Utopia, Leviathan, and also like Evolzars, and well, you don't play it in Tengu, but like this sort of era. I mean,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, I play. So um, I chose to get into Tengu over other formats because uh, I had like a little journey to get here. I wanted to play like this old format, so and I didn't know what Tengu Plant format was, right? So I at first I just really wanted to play with Jirax because this is the deck I played back when I was a kid, and I played over like the 2011 game for the DS. I think it's called Over the Nexus for the
Yeah,
emulator.
yeah.
Just playing against the CPU. But then I was like, I really want to play this against real people. So I sort of made my own custom format, which isn't really a custom format. It's just December 2011 because it's
Mhm.
basically Tango Plant, but we included Dark Worlds and we included Photon Shockwave,
Ah,
but we
mhm.
banned Rescue Rabbit because Dino Rabbit was a little too powerful. So it was fun for me because I had access to a Volzars. I would just play pure Drac, and
Ah, yeah.
yeah. So it was my own little custom format. I played with my friends. We had like Notorias, agents, like just a snapshot of like every single like we built it in paper. It was fun. And then I discovered Tango Plant format from a Yu-Gi-Oh post on Facebook, and I was like, oh, this is like a format people play. And I got like really into it, and I also found out about Edison shortly after, and I tried both. And don't get me wrong, Edison's fun in its own way, but I prefer Tengu for a bunch of reasons. So the reason I choose to play Tengu over other formats like Edison is because Tengu has more. Well, for a few reasons. The one of the biggest is that that Tengu has a lot more deck variety, and I think Tengu Plant truly captures the 5Ds experience better than Edison, because Tengu Plant takes place at the end of 5Ds, so you actually get all those 5Ds decks, whereas Edison just lacks a lot of them. For example, um, in Tengu you can play Infernities, you can play Scraps, you can play Six Samurais, and you can play all the dual terminal archetypes: Dragunities, Worms, Notorias, Jirax, Fableds, right? But like if you play Edison, you can't even like the only two Flamvell cards that are decent are like Magician and Fire Dog. You can't even play a whole Flamvell deck. So that's why I really like Tengu, just because like there's so many more options because of the card pool. Um, Also, I think it's a very healthy format. I think there's lots of counterplay. And I like the yeah, I like the counterplay. Like every play has like a counter. Like there's warning, but there's also triple MST. There's powerful cards like BLS and Caius, Trishula, but they get checked by Valor and Warning. So it's like you have to think about what the opponent has, and you have to. So counterplay is something that goes into technical play, but also deck building, and I think that really separates the skillful players in Tengu. That's something I really like about the format.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. That was a lot and answered almost all of my questions already. It's great how thorough you went. And I mean, in Tengu is one of the first formats where there's a good dinosaur deck, right?
Yeah, actually, I haven't played I haven't played like every single format, but I plan on trying several formats actually. So
Ah,
I used
nice.
yeah. So um I think Tengu is probably the first format where there's like a viable dinosaur deck. Most people don't even know Jiracs are playable because historically it doesn't have any tops at this time. Um, but I'm looking to change that. Looking to give Jiracs the recognition they deserve because they're a pretty good deck, honestly.
Yes, winning Tangomania, next one.
Yeah, it's the goal.
I hope so. Okay, thank you. So when we talk about Tangomania and other stuff, one thing I showed you before I prepared is what we did also last time with Janky on the first episode to talk a bit what happened in Tengu format. So for people who are maybe new to the format who want to see, hey, which are the good decks? I always like to take a look at the winning decks of the last tournament. So in the last 2 weeks, since we had the last podcast, we only had like a few smaller tournaments, like local ones, you could say, and none of the big ones. But I think it's still super interesting to take a look. So the first one was the Toronto Time Capsule Tournament last week. 15 on Friday with 10 players. And what I found super interesting, not sure, I think you played this week, right? In this one, in these tournaments, only super high competitive decks are played. It seems to me, at least, like that, right?
Yeah, looking from the top cut, yeah, especially Catsith Chaos. It's a lot more popular now. Which is great. It's another deck in the format, and yeah, it's a very powerful contender.
Yes. We have like up here, we have top forward 2 agent decks. I mean, agent is like the deck that everyone picks up. It's pretty easy to play. We talked about it here before. And the Catsith deck, which is played a lot in the Toronto Time Capsule tournaments, also because Janky, Psychon, the 2 people who like kind of invented the deck, play there a lot. So of course they will try to. And we saw Kirk winning, I think for the first time, a Tengu tournament with Catsith Chaos. So again,
Congratulations to Kirk. Yeah.
Yes, congratulations. So I took a look at the list. I have it on screen for everyone who wants to see. So I think the biggest change to most of the lists I've seen is again that we see the Gravekeeper Spy tag that people now started to play more and more, and also a Descendant. So a big Gravekeeper package with like 3 spies and 1 Descendant. That's something I've seen people sometimes also do in other formats before, like I think in like Rescue Cat kind of builds in Edison or after Edison format that you try to play this. But I haven't seen a Tengu Plant too often, but it seems to work out quite a lot.
Yeah, I think it works really well. I think I watched a video of someone explaining the reasons, and Spy is a great bridge to make Trishula in this deck, especially because you're on triple Catsith and the Veilers. So if you have like a Spy, you flip it, and you get 2 spies on field, then you just normal summon a level 1 tuner, and you could easily make Trishula.
Yes, and also like it's the second dark. I think that's something we talked with Janky a bit about last episode. You always need another dark monster for Chaos Orc because lights are pretty easy to get by, but darks are not that easy, which is weird because old Yu-Gi-Oh is always like, oh, there's so many good dark monsters, but not many good light monsters.
Yeah, and then in Tengu we're starting to see the opposite of that, where it's like we need good darks.
Yeah, the power of Thunder King. So I also put up the second place list. Honestly, it's agents. Like I don't see anything different. Like 3 Maxi in the main deck is maybe a bit special, but beside that, I think it's like agents. As there's no Jupiter being played, like the 1800 guy that I almost always played in the deck, just to out Ryo, for example. And Messenger of Peace in the sideboard seems
That's
nice.
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
I guess you do it against like some of the more beatdowny decks because agents often need like 1 or 2 turns to set up and then like play the game, and then you can decide yourself, hey, I now want to get rid of it. Maybe, yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, if I look closer now, okay, that deck also plays 2 Thunder King in the main deck, I guess, instead of the Jupiter. That's not a bad card, but I haven't seen it too often because you're so reliant on the other normal summons, right? On like not Jupiter, Venus and Earth, and 2 guys.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, you're right. I figure maybe it's valuable because if you normal summon that after you get the Gotchi up, it's a pretty big Thunder King. It's going to be really hard to out.
Yeah, and going first against some decks is like also super good. Like for example, if you play against TG, which can be a bit weird matchup because of skill drain. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Aomine and Kirk. Unfortunately, the other Catsith player missed their top 4 match. Alucard, who also had a good Catsith build, he just thought he wouldn't make the top cut and left. But it happens, you know. One thing to learn: never ever leave the tournament if you have a small chance to top cut. I did it once in real life too. It's not nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it as well. Yeah.
The other one we had was also only 9 players, so pretty small one. We saw Janky winning with his Dragoonity deck, and we saw Simply Zerk getting second place with Cloudian Synchro. Oh, I love this so much. And
Yeah, that's interesting.
also Hero and Agents on top cut. And again, Greike, I hope I pronounce you right, in the top 4. It seems like Greike is one of the people to watch for the next big tournaments. Topping twice in a row. Not so easy, especially in this difficult environment. So, this is Janky's Dragoonity deck. It looks nearly similar to the one I played. I also played Dragoonity in the same tournament, but I can tell you, DB was lagging so hard for me. I needed to restart DB every turn, and I'm not exaggerating. Really, every turn. So, I unfortunately went really, really bad. What do you think about Dragoonity in general?
I think it's a pretty good. It's a pretty solid deck. The Ravine is a very powerful card. You can pump out powerful monsters each turn, and if the opponent doesn't have an answer, you just quickly outpace them and you outpower them. It's a very solid deck.
Yes, I think so too. So Janky changed around the ratios a bit in this one. Only 1 Drago, the good card against agents, playing only 1 Phalanx, but playing a Legionnaire in the main deck. I think it's not clear. My personal experience from playing the deck was that Malefic Starter that Janky's playing in the side was super good in the whole tournament. I played 1 in the main deck, and it felt like amazing to protect Ravine. That's maybe something for the future in that deck, because this deck is super bad against MST. MST is like the strongest card against this deck, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. As a Drac player who mains triple MST, that's like something I usually use it to answer that.
Yes. And the second place list here, the Cloudian Synchro deck that you can see on screen right now. I think it looks insanely interesting. I really, really like the deck. So I played against it before. I played also in testing a bit, and it's basically a bit like Tengu Plant, but instead of Tengu, you'll play the Cloudian, and instead of Ryo, you play Herald and Christia.
That's so interesting. So, I've read before we started. I saw this, and I read Cloudian Turbulence, and from what I understand, its effect is you normal summon it, you place a counter on it, and then you could remove that counter to special summon Smoke Ball from deck or graveyard. Yes. So, do you know what the combo is? Like after that point?
Honestly, if I lost against the deck because they also had 1-for-1 Dandy.
That'll do it.
yeah, that will do it. But I think the idea in Turbulence is that it just sticks super good, because it can't be destroyed by battle. So you just normal summon it, and sometimes you just keep it on field, right? Do nothing else. You just keep it on field and wait for like a turn or so to then summon a tuner, make a Formula Synchron. I think it doesn't have that much combo potential compared to like Tengu Plant. Also because enemy control is a bit worse if you don't play Tengu. But the strength that I've seen is like Christia. Christia is insane, of course. We all know that. And compared to like agents, you can play Call of the Haunted. Here you see like 2 calls. And if you just negate something with Christia, or you can like play the Turbulence, do nothing, then summon the Smoke Ball, and then tribute both for Christia. Even that is kind of good against some decks.
Wow, yeah. And now that I'm seeing it, it's all coming together. And like the Herald provides interruption.
Yeah.
And then you have the Synchro engine with all the tuners, and a lot of them can recur themselves like Bulb and Spore. So you can like not only make formula, but then also recur and like continue to pop off.
Yes.
Wow, I think it's a very innovative list. Shout out to Simply Zerg. I wanted to give a shout out to the team Trailblazers with myself, Blaze Phoenix,
Nice.
Simply Zerg, BS45, the Infernity guy who
Mm-hmm.
got a video with Tyler. He topped with the triple gold sark list, and and me, Simply Zerg, BS45, Blaze Phoenix, and I have it written down. And Televisual. Televisual,
Ah,
yes.
okay, nice. I love when people get together and play test. I also have a small playtest group that I talk a lot about. It's maybe the group that innovated the Gravekeeper list that everyone hates. but but yeah, I think it's super important to do that. And you see what can happen. Like you can, it was a small tournament. Of course, you can get quite lucky. But I know simply like took a lot of time and looked at the deck for a long, long time. So I think it can work even in a bigger tournament. And maybe we see it in like the next Tengu Rumble, maybe even Tengu Mania. So the last tournament happened yesterday. I didn't play in it. I don't think you played in it, right? It was the Tengu Scramble.
In the Discord. No, I did
Yeah.
not play in that.
Yeah. Yeah, we had 16 players, so a bit more, played top 4, and we had, again, Infernity winning for the second time in a row in Tengu Plant Town. Catsith Chaos got second place, again Catsith. Then we saw Gravekeepers and Heroes in top, like special, like normal decks. I also, thank you to Photoshooty, I have the metagame breakdown. And what's interesting is that we saw like 3 Catsith, 3 Hero, 2 Infernity, 2 Falcon Punch, and 1 like Falcon Water. But we didn't really see any like normal decks. Like there was 1 Tengu Plant, but with Catsith there was no Agent. We didn't see any TG. We only saw 1 Gravekeeper. The Gravekeeper was also a bit spicy. So this wasn't like a meta kind of tournament.
Yeah. But to be honest, I think I enjoy these kind of tournaments a lot more because it's a lot more fun and innovative to see like new things and be in a new situation, like a new game state that you're not necessarily used to, and try to think outside the box of how to navigate that game state.
Yes, I think it's always depends for me. Sometimes I love playing against the meta decks just because I want to test and see if my deck is good enough to win against agents, you know? Because some
That's true
decks
too.
get gate kept. On the other hand, especially as a watcher too. If I watch a tournament, I love watching these kind of not janky at the wrong word, but these kind of roguey kind of decks. Even though personally I'm not the biggest Infernity fan. Here I put on the Infernity winning deck list, and it's a bit different to the ones we've seen before. It goes like all in on Goldsark and Infernity Inferno. I think it's a bit similar to the one that BS played, right?
Yeah, the main similarity I see is triple gold sark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also see Tour Guide, of course, because Tour Guide is like the best card in the format, maybe. And
Yeah, tour guide's pretty crazy.
yet you don't see that many traps compared to like early versions of the deck, which I think is interesting because early versions I saw like often like with deep prisons or bottomless. I think it's quite interesting, and it worked out pretty well. I think Infernity is a deck that is super super strong if you don't prepare for it. It's the same with like, for example, Gravekeeper that we may talk a bit about later, because Infernity loses a lot to like a few hand traps, for example. And Infernity is also weak, I think, to Macrocosmos, Dimensional Fissure. You all know that, but people don't play it that often because no one thinks about Infernity right now, in my
Yeah,
opinion. So maybe
it's
that's
a pretty powerful deck. And I think another thing about it is it takes a lot of skill to pilot. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's very there's so many lines with that deck. Go ahead.
yeah. This Hydro Pump, who I think won a tournament way back when in Tengu Plant Format 2, and I think Hydro Pump also pivoted into randomizer control, which he didn't decide to do for this tournament. But yeah, I agree. You need to be pretty good to win with that deck.
Yeah, definitely. Very powerful.
Yes.
And congratulations.
Congratulations. Yes. Second place, I think I said Duck Tracy with another Catsith build. It's like pretty similar to the one we saw before. So Triple Spy, Descendant. This is just Catsith, you know? Seeing 2 Vanities Fiend to hate on others in the sideboard, but I like it with Spy, to be honest, because you can easily triple Spy and then some decks are just dead against that card.
Yeah, I also like it against Chaos Orc. I mean, with Chaos Orc, because
Yeah.
like you can summon Chaos Orc, banish a problem card, and then tribute over it, and then attack, and not have to worry about cores.
Yes. Yes. I like it. Like some small changes, but similar. It seems like most people now believe that Gravekeeper is by the best pick for the last monster slot in the deck, which is interesting because before people like played Reaper, some just played Breaker, you know, but seems like it's no Spy. The third deck that I just want to show, congratulations to Bad Culture Fit. They also won, I think, the TTC Toronto Encounter twice this season already. So like super super strong showing for this year already. And I think they played a similar Gravekeeper deck in one of their wins. And this is so different from what I play or my group plays because it doesn't have Upstart Goblin, it doesn't have Wonder Wand, it doesn't have Rite of Spirit at all. It's like more of a trap kind of Gravekeeper deck.
Yeah, and they're on a triple Descendant, which I find pretty interesting
Yes,
too.
and triple Gravekeeper Steel. My personal opinion is I would play 0 before I would play 3 because I hate this card with a passion.
Oh yeah.
I always draw it against agents like turn 1 and you're like just super super sad. But it worked out pretty well, and I think with these kind of deck decisions, always it depends on the meta game a lot. For example, if everyone prepares for the Turbo Gravekeeper build, I want to call it, then maybe this kind of trap heavy build is a lot better because no one expect to attack into Deep Prison or like triple Fiendish Chain that you see. I think that could work really well against Infernity, for example.
Yeah, and even like agents too, like you Fiendish Chain their Hyperion if they somehow manage to bring it out if you don't have Necro Valley.
Yes, yes. And maybe that was the idea. And the last deck I just want to show is super easy. It's like a hero beat deck. Nothing too spectacular, to be honest. Has like a Pudgy in the main deck, but
yeah, hero beat.
Yes, hero beat. You can never go wrong if you want to start playing the format. I think that's one of the deck that's also not too difficult to learn in the beginning, and it's still pretty strong. It always tops like at least once in the big tournaments.
Yeah, definitely a powerful contender, and it translates pretty well from Edison. So like most people who go from Edison to Tengu could just pick this up and learn the format that way.
Hey, by the way, we have a lot of people in chat right now that I haven't seen because I was going through the presentation. Hey, Magino, Real Great, Right Swipe, and oh, Kelly C. Kelly C was rating me, thank you. He was saying Orcus is the move. And thank you, BS, for talking to us. Infernities have gotten popular. Yeah, I agree. I'm not the biggest fan of Infernity myself, just personally, because I lost too much when I was younger against it, way too often. I think that's a real. So, before we go a bit to talk a bit about you, Mike, let's just quickly show the upcoming tournaments. It's not perfect, so let me try to maybe make it a bit smaller so you can see it on stream. Yeah. So we have like a lot of tournaments upcoming in the next 2 weeks. So we have a Toronto time capsule, of course, every Friday in the tournament Nexus server. You can play a small local Tengu tournament. If you win, you qualify for like their big end of the season tournament where you can win some prize money. I think these are perfect testing grounds because even though, like I said, last tournament were like 10 players, these are so extremely competitive. Like no one comes up with the deck that they haven't tested, it seems. Even like the more roguey kind of decks are pretty strong.
Yes.
Yes. Then you have the Tengu Rumble that starts in 2 days, I think. The multi-day tournament at Tengu Plant Town that I often play also to like test some new decks because you just play one game every 3 days. So even if you don't have that much time, you always can get that one game up, I think.
Oh, that one's starting. So I thought it already started. That's good news because I thought I missed signups. So I'm probably gonna sign up for that one.
Yeah, no, they postponed it because it was the same day and a scramble. And I think they wanted to give people a bit more time to register, which is good. Then we have Tengu Mania 7 on April 6th. It's still a bit of time, but not that much anymore. That's the biggest tournament that's upcoming. Oftentimes, like 40 to 50 people play in these tournaments. You can win prize money. I think it's up to $200. So hope you're preparing for that. I'll try to play in that. I'm not sure if I will have the time because I think that's like a bad date for me.
I'm definitely preparing for it. I'm actually still not sure what deck I'm gonna bring. I mean, I could go safe, bring Jirak, but
Hmm.
I'm testing a few other lists. So I don't know what I'll bring, but I am excited. Definitely setting aside time for that.
Yes, and the last thing I want to shortly mention, there's a new server that has Tengu Plant tournaments in there. It's called At True Server, and it will start the Tengu War League. Have you heard about that?
I have. I'm currently on a team. Shout out to Team Trailblazers again.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yes, I'm also on a team already. I play together with Dark Signer and Hymne, the god of Tengu Plant. I'm glad that we got him. And Photoshooty. And yeah, I'm pretty looking forward to playing in that one. Uh, I started to also participate in the Edison War League, but I'm not good at Edison at all. So I look forward to a format that I know how to play. And I'm so glad that so many new players are joining this. Like, so a lot of Edison people joining that tournament. And that makes me just happy to have more people to play against.
Yeah, it makes me so happy too. I love that the format's getting more popularity.
Yes, I agree. So, to go to the next thingy, maybe I should have some cool animations to show, hey, this is the bullet time segment, because I always want to have the bullet time segment here, but I don't have any animation yet because I'm not good at this stuff. But we can still do it, right? We can talk a bit against you. And yes, a Necro, by the way, also told you Dino DNA in chat.
Oh, Dino DNA, hell
Yes,
yeah!
yes. Uh, Looking forward to that. So, I have 10 questions for you, and you just need to answer these questions as fast as possible because I want to get to know you a bit better. I think our listeners also want to get to know you a bit better. These are often easy questions, but also a few questions that are a bit more relevant just to you. So, my first question would be, what is your favorite card in Tengu Plant format?
That has to be. Oh, that's tough. I got two of them. Can I say two?
Mm-hmm. All good.
Okay, that's gonna be Jirak Giganoto, my favorite card of all time, and then I also really love Rekindling. Those are my two favorite cards in the format.
I can, yeah. I thought Velo. I think my personal favorite card from the Jurak deck is Jurak Velo. It just like it just makes me so happy seeing that card and just putting it on the field.
I love Velo too. It's a hard pick. I love all the Juraks, but I think
Yeah,
my favorite has to be Giganoto, and
yeah,
then second Rekindling,
yeah. I
because I
can
love
see
all of them.
that. Um, if I would ask in Unity Cheese, do you like multi-day or single-day events more?
Both are fun. I'll have to go with single day.
Mhm, mhm. Um, and if you could choose in the tournament setting, would you like to play more double elimination or Swiss?
Mm, I think we already get a lot of Swiss, so I'd like to play a little more double elim, but I
Mhm.
like both.
Okay, that's good. Oh, I love the positivity that you have. That you think, yeah, both have merits and both are fun. But yes,
Oh, thanks.
yes, I always like that. It's good. If you could ban one card from the format, from the Tango Plan format, which would it be?
Trap does shoot easy. That card needs to go.
Yes, that's the same answer that Janky gave. Not too big of a surprise. I'm still waiting for the person who says something different. Uh, Maybe Konami is listening for the next time with a tournament and just says we play Tango Plant without Trap Dash Shoot.
That'd be an improvement. I think
Yeah.
everyone can agree.
Yes. What do you think is the strongest deck in Tango Plant format?
Hmm. Well, my answer is going to be Jirak, but my
Nice.
real answer is going to be Catsith Chaos, if I'm going to be honest, because Jirak is like really fun, but if I'm going to be actually honest, yeah, Catsith Chaos is probably the best.
Nice. That's also a super spicy answer. I hope people in the comments will roast you for it or love you for it. I think most more people will love you because I think the easy answer is like either agents or Tango plans, what most people would say. So I'm happy that you chose something else. Um, if we talk about decks, do you think? I mean, maybe I know your answer already, but what do you think is the most underrated deck in the format?
Most underrated deck? Oh, definitely Jirak. People sleep on that deck. It's kind of like Infernity in the sense it's a very high skill floor deck, so that's probably why people sleep on it a lot. But because people might. Oh, yeah, these are quick. Sorry. I'll say Drac.
All good. All good. No. That's fine. I think, especially from you, we will talk about Jurek after this, but I think for you, it's totally fine that you take a bit more time. I can understand, especially playing Jurek myself. I think it's a bit more difficult than people give it credit for. I needed like
Yeah.
20 games at least with the deck to say, hey, I'm okay enough with it to play it in a tournament. I'm still like, I'm not, of course, not near perfect.
Sorry, plays. You're doing pretty good.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
thank you. But the other thing is, what do you think is the most overrated deck to make some people unhappy?
Oh, agents. Agents are overrated.
I can tell you,
Good, but
I personally never played agents until now
Mhm.
in my life because I think they are just not my kind of play style. Playing against them, sometimes they just feel super strong. So
yeah, they're strong for sure, but they're very linear. They do the same thing
yeah.
every game, so they're very predictable. I think that's their kryptonite. And if you could exploit that, um, then the matchup gets a lot easier.
Yes. The next question, and you need to define yourself. What I mean with that is, who for you is the goat of Tengu Plant format?
Can't just pick one person, so this will be my shout out time. I'll shout out to Tyler, TCG Rewind, and Photo Shooty, and you, and every other content creator in the space for bringing attention and popularity to the best format of all time, and also Playtest IRL as well, another content creator.
Yes.
Shout out to Team Trailblazer for our Tengu War League, which includes myself, BS45, Blaze Phoenix, Simply Zerg, and Televisual.
Yeah, nice. Again, you didn't want to be the bad guy to say, oh, there's a clear best player in the format. It has to be, I don't know, for example, Tia or someone else who like won a lot of tournaments. I also like that because we don't gain too much from saying one person is the best, but I still like the question to get engagement. No,
Yeah.
so a more you question is number 9 that I didn't ask Janky is if you could choose a real dinosaur, which one would you be?
There's two I really love.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna have to go with Utah Raptor, which is awesome, but also Giganotosaurus is awesome too.
Okay, that's also direct Giganoto. I understand.
Yeah, and Utah Raptor is so I don't know. I don't know if this is common knowledge or not, but like the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park, like they're not actually that big. They're like the size of chickens. Like Velociraptors are very small. So, but the big raptors that are like a little bigger than the ones in Jurassic Park are Utah Raptors, and those things are huge and they're awesome and just badass. They're really sick. So I really like Utah Raptors too.
Nice, nice. I think I would be a Stegosaurus. I like them. I'm like they seem so nice and so chill.
Yeah, nice choice. They're dangerous too. I love them because they could just swing their tail and just cripple
Yeah.
dinosaur. Yeah, they're good choice. Good choice.
Okay, and the last question, of course, the most important one is, what's your favorite pizza?
So I do not like cheese. But I do love pizza. I just order it without cheese. So I get cheeseless pizza with pineapple, ham, mushrooms, and pepperoni. Love it. It's so
Oh, that will make people angry. I love it.
good. Yeah, that totally will.
Yes, no cheese and pineapple. I think that's like the kryptonite.
Yeah, very unpopular.
But it's
Very unpopular
it's
opinion.
it's good. I mean, maybe it's similar to your Yu-Gi-Oh opinion sometimes.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
that's okay. So before we talk about our big topic today, because the topic I want to talk to you about is like rogue decks, like how good it is to play a rogue deck, what the merits of it, what maybe is the difficulty of it, especially with you playing Durex. But before that, can you give us like a few minutes and talk a bit about your real life experience? Because I think you went to YCS Vegas, right?
That is true. I did.
Yes. How was it to play Tengu Plant in real life?
Oh, it was so fun. I love it. Um, so I'm a little spoiled. Tengu Plant is quite popular here. We're in
Mm-hmm.
Southern California, Los Angeles, where I live. So I do get to play in person a lot. But it was so fun to even for me, who does get to I have the luxury of having locals in my area. Um, to get to go to Vegas and just have such a vast player base, so many side events firing off for Tengu. A big main event, or not main, but like the 3v3, and it was just such a good experience to play this awesome format and have more people get eyes on it. Um, it was a blast. I played with Team Arcana Force.
Mm-hmm.
We all had matching shirts. I play on my team was the content creator Playtest IRL,
Ah,
and
nice.
my good friend Boaz. He was on my friend Playtest IRL. He was on a goat deck. He was playing goat, and he was on chaos control with like infernal queen with a fiend engine. Um, my friend Boaz was on hero beat in Edison, and I was on Dirac in Tengu. We finished 5-2. We did not make it to day 2, unfortunately, but we still did pretty decent. Um, and I also got to meet up with Tyler from TCG Rewind again. That was fun. I met him once before that, but it was nice to see him again. I also got to meet a bunch of people in the retro format community, like James Ark, Carpath, Direct Guiba in the Discord. So shout out to all you guys. It was awesome meeting you. And I also got to I went with my fiance. We got to enjoy Vegas a little
Ah.
bit, go to some nice restaurants. It was an amazing time.
Oh, that sounds great. And going 5-2, I think with the competition that you had is like amazing. Like, every big name in Edison, I think, went to this tournament. At least it seemed like it. And even like big names from the modern game also went to it and played in it. It's like insane. Also, how many people started to pick up Tengu? We had Triff joining online Tengu tournaments. We had like the Gage MBT Simo team playing, like even like the big names, which I think is also super helpful for us.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's giving a lot of attention to the format, which I think is healthy. And if you look at the format itself, there were like, of course, there's you expect this. There's going to be a bunch of side events going on, and Edison by far had the most. It was like I think like well over 50, maybe near 100 time wizard events, and then second amount actually you would expect it to be Goat because Goat's a
Yeah.
legacy, a Goat form, a retro format that's been around long. But no, actually, there was about I want to say about uh I think 11 Tengu
Mm-hmm.
Plant side events that were going on, and that was the most. And then I think there was like 4 or 5 goat format side events, and then I think 1 hat format side event.
Uh,
Um, so it's good to see that Tengu Plant is sort of second place in the retro format popularity contest.
yeah, I feel a bit sad. I have a friend who came to YCS Dortmund last year just to play Goat, and they had like one Goat 8 flight tournament on the whole day. Only one.
Oh, that
And he missed
sucks.
it even because he came a bit late. So he couldn't play
Oh
any.
man.
Yeah. They only played Edison. They didn't even have anything for Tengu there, but maybe that will change in the future. I personally, I'm a big fan to, like you said, try a lot of different formats and give people chances to play all of the format they like. Because there's so many interesting things. I love Fire Water format, for example. I think Head format has its merits. I know a lot of people online play also Meadowlands format and even like the Dino Rabbit format. So let's give love
Yeah.
to everyone.
I'd like to touch on that for a second too,
Yes.
because I for the past like maybe year or two, I've just been playing Edison and Tengu. But as of late, I think I'm really excited and I got motivated to try new formats because I've got involved in the format library community, tried a few of their Tengu tournaments, and Master Duel just released their OCG Goat
Ah,
format
yeah.
um thing, and that was a lot of fun to play in, and that actually got me excited to try actual Goat format. So I about like maybe a week or two ago, I just started Goat format, and I know Goat format has its pros and its cons, but I'm kind of looking at it as like its own thing, and like delinquent duo, pot agreed,
Ah,
graceful.
yeah.
It breaks the format, but like trying it for the first time, I will say this: it's very fun resolving those cards. Um, and I think what I want to do is I want to try a bunch of these popular formats like Perfect Circle, Fire, Water, Hat. And I want to try to make dinosaurs or Jiracs work in as many of those formats as possible. I think it'll be a lot of
Nice.
fun.
Nice. The same that I did with gadgets for a long time. So when going
Oh,
through all these
nice.
formats and trying to play gadgets, yes, and I do agree. I think also in Goat format, what is fun, I played in 3v3 from format library. some time
Mm-hmm.
ago, and our player played Stallburn, and seeing him win against like the Chaos Turbo deck or the Warrior deck was so nice, so exhilarating. Him flipping Secret Barrel for the win. I think I can.
Yeah.
I felt how fun it could be. So yeah, I agree. I like, again, positivity to, like, because we all need to work together, right? We all like the same game. We all like nostalgia. So why not try to make something together? I think the 3v3 was a perfect thing to start it. I do hope we have something
Think
like
so
that
too.
in the EU, because in EU we never have these cool tournaments. We only get like boring YCSs. And even if we get any, we don't have anything announced for like the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, I wish that for you guys too. It was such a fun experience, and I would love for the EU to also be able to experience that.
Yes, let's hope so too. But let's talk about something totally different. Let me see if I still have it up. Yes, I still have it up. So you are known, and you talked a lot about the Jurek deck. The Jurek deck is a dinosaur deck that not many people played back then. At my locals, I don't think no one who played the deck, to be honest. Even though at the locals, everything gets played. Really, every jank gets tried and so on. But I think no one played Jurek ever. So can you tell us a bit, like for a few minutes, a few seconds, what do we need to know about Jurex? Like, what does the deck try to do? What is special about the deck? So people who haven't tried it know kind of, hey, what to expect when they want to try it.
Yeah, so at first glance, most people will see Jirax and probably think, oh, it's just like Gladiator Beast, but like synchro, and that's like not really true because it has a very different playstyle to Gladiator Beast. Um, this deck plays if you want to, if it for the Edison player viewers out there, it actually plays kind of similarly to Fairy, in Edison, whereas Drac Velo is kind of like your Shining Angel. Your lances are kind of like your Book of Moons that protect your floaters. Your Kindlings are kind of like your Christias, and your Veilers are kind of like your Heralds. But it's more focused on like grinding and getting to the late game payoff. So, basically, the playstyle of the deck is what you really need to do is you need to get your Drac Velo online as soon as possible, whether that's through Falsa Dig, just
Mhm.
hard opening it, or resolving Drac Waiba. You need to get your Drac Velo on the field, and then use your Drac Velo to control the board and fuel the graveyard. So the opponent is not going to be able to is going to try to out it in other ways other than battle, and you need to protect it using your lances and your effect veilers and your MSTs. Um, and then if they attack into it, you always want to float and get your Aolos into play. So like if they have a Thunder King and they attack your Velo, you're gonna special summon Drac Aolo, and then on your turn tribute the Aolo, get the Velo back, and then you could even crash, get another Aolo into play like that, and eventually, or if you want to have a normal summon, or a Falsa Dig, you want to Falsa Dig, search the Aolo, get the Aolo in hand, normal summon it, tribute, get a Drac back because that'll get the Aolos into
Yeah.
graveyard, which is where you want them for your late game play, and you want to get it's an interesting deck because the win con is your late game payoff with their kindling, and you want to grind but so while it's also a grinding deck, you also want to get to that late game payoff as soon as possible. So you're gonna have to play this balance of figuring out um, the nuance of each game state and how to proceed in the best way possible.
Yes.
Um,
Mm.
mhm.
That
I
was
think
great.
yeah. You also want to save your kindling for your late game push. You don't want to like use them too early. And you want to try to get to the late game push as soon as possible. And you need to test a lot with it. It's a very high skill floor deck, so you need to understand matchups in order to succeed. Because how you'll play is very dependent on not only the board state but also the matchup. And there's lots of lines. Even like once you get your kindling online, there's so many different ways. Like you might just think it's Trish Turbo, but like there's so many other win conditions, whether that be Mistworm, just Catastrophe Control, going for game through Direct Kikanoto, or even just like controlling with Thunder King. Um, there's like, and it all depends on the board state and like what you know your opponent has. So like reading what cards the opponent has is really important. So I'd say watch replays and learn. It takes a lot of effort. But yeah.
Nice. That's a lot. And I can say myself, I tried the deck. I think I'm one of the only people besides you who tried really playing the deck, at least in the online scene. And you're pretty helpful. So I guess if you have a question, you can just always tag you, right? And hey, I want to learn about the deck. Can you help me with these plays, or can you help me with my deck building, for example, right?
Yeah, of course. Anyone out there who's watching this, if you want to try Dirac, by all means, like come message me on Discord. I'm Amazing Mike Man. Send me a message, maybe your deck list, show me your replays, and I'll offer you some advice, some constructive criticism.
Yes, nice. Can you tell us a bit before we go into the intricacies of the decks, like what your history with the deck? What's the reason that you play the deck, and maybe is it the reason because you like dinosaurs, or is there more behind it?
A little bit of both. So there is more, but I do love dinosaurs. So, um, I started playing Jirax for the very first time in 2011. Um, I was maybe about 12 or 13 years old. And this was back in the day when I would just go to locals with my friends. I didn't really understand card advantage or like how to play competitively like that. So none of us are really good players. We're all just kids who didn't really understand the game, like the next level of the game. We were just sort of playing with each other. But one day, there was some guy at the locals. He was trying to pull Trishula from the Hidden Arsenal packs, so he bought like a whole box and he opened all these packs. I don't remember if he pulled it or not, but he had all this bulk he didn't want, so he just gave it to me. And in that bulk was a bunch of Jurak cards. So I went through it and I looked at my book at home, and I had like Solidarities and Molten Destructions. So I put this deck together, this like Jurak beatdown deck. And the idea was you just activate Solidarity and Molten Destruction, normal summon a Jurak, and it's 3,000 attack. And then you attack with it, and then you trigger the effect. So it would just be this like very simple deck where I just normal summon a Guaiba and just make Giganoto, and eventually the Giganoto got to like 5,000 or 6,000 attack, and now it was a very just brain dead, just attack, attack, attack deck. But it was a lot of fun, and back then, none of us really um, knew how to play competitively, so no one could really out a 3,000 track monster. So it was a lot of fun, and I played with it a lot. So flash forward, I took my break after that, like September 2012. Left for the Marines, and then my 19th birthday, my old friends, we all got together, and they all got me 3 of the Dino Smashers Fury structure deck with UCT, Overraptor, Misk, all that good stuff. And so that was my introduction back into the game. I figured, oh, I got all these structure decks. Let me start playing again. I mixed it with my old 2011 Drac deck. And I learned competitive Yu-Gi-Oh during this time, like when links were brand new in 2017, and it was like spiral format. So I was actually able to play at a competitive level, and just summon UCT and win, even in that like tier 0 format. And I was like, being able to experience playing at a competitive level for the first time was very fun. Um, Even though my deck was not good, I was a very new player, and I was like mixing it with Jirax, in spiral format, which is
Nice.
uh, yeah, it doesn't sound good. But then eventually I got a little better and better, started cutting more and more Jirax from the deck. And once I became a somewhat decent player, I actually kept a small Jirac package in. Um, it was like 2 Guaibas, 1 Aolo, 1 Dino, in addition to your normal standard Lost World dinosaur deck back then. And it was a going second dinosaur deck. I played Kaijus, Lost World, Pankratops, all that stuff. And there's actually a synergy. There's a reason I kept the Jiraxin. It's because going second, you do your normal dinosaur combo, but when you go battle phase, if you don't have game, you can attack into a token, use Lost World to destroy Baby Ceresaurus in deck. Baby Ceresaurus will special summon a Drac, and you can go for Guaiba. Guaiba will kill the token, or you can go for Drac Dino, which would kill the token, and then you can either draw 2 cards, or you can do Guaiba effect, special Aolo, and then make a Trishula or an Evolzar. There's a lot of really interesting plays you could make, and I was making Trishula all the time, and no one expects Trishula in like spiral format, which is really good because not only do you rip a card out of the hand, field, and grave, it's like it interrupts their ability to come back. So it was actually pretty decent, and during this time, I topped 2 regionals and got my invite to 2018
Oh.
nationals.
Mhm.
Um, and I made day 2 of Nats. It was a lot of fun. Um, and yeah.
And that then you became the dinosaur guy. I mean,
Oh
you.
yeah, sorry, I forgot to
Oh, good.
I forgot to mention how it happened in retro format. So I was kind of known as the Drac guy at my locals in 2017 and 2018, and I always loved that archetype. Also I love Dracs too, right? Which is I love dinosaurs, which is
Hmm.
why I played the deck in the first place back in 2011. And and then when I wanted to revisit this format, I really wanted to play an old format where I could play Jirax again because it's my favorite archetype of all time. It's been my favorite archetype of all time since I was a kid. Um, and I was so disappointed to learn that Edison did not have Jirax. I was like so disappointed because Edison was like the popular format. So when I found out Tengu was was like the next popular format where Jirax are playable, I'm like, hell yeah, let me go in here and let me break this deck. And I just worked really hard, tirelessly on figuring out how to make Jirax playable, and eventually I did, and I topped a few tournaments with them.
Yes, nice. Oh, that's a great story. And hello, Farmer. We are doing a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast. I've some people watching here who maybe don't know Yu-Gi-Oh that well, but if you're interested, you can learn a bit here. um, I think that's great to hear about you. So, did you have any reason to not like try any of the top decks, like the Agent deck, the Tengu Plant deck, like the stuff that everyone plays, especially like starting?
Um, yeah, I've tried a few of them. I don't like agents just because it's kind of like the same thing over and over again. It's very linear. It's not really my playstyle. But I've tried like plants. I've tried hero beat. I've tried I've tried a few of the other decks. In terms of playstyle, not only are Jirax like my favorite archetype, like aesthetically wise, design wise, but also playstyle because um it's so fun to because like with Jirax, your win condition is something you really have to earn,
Ah,
as
mhm.
opposed to just like sacking your opponent. Like a lot of people are like, oh, my opponent sacked me because they top decked BLS, right? But like with Jirax, it's you. Some people who might complain, oh, I sacked them with their kindling, but like that's the beauty of it because you're not really sacking your opponent because like you can see a rekindling, but if you don't play correctly, that rekindling is just a dead card. You have to like really work throughout the game to set up your grave just right and then drop the rekindling at the right time to and out your opponent because the opponent's going to want to save their outs for their kindling. They're going to want to save their warnings, their veilers for their maxis for rekindling. So you have to like bait out those interruptions and then late game do it at the right time. So it's when you win with Jirax, it always feels very earned. That's something I really love about it. It's very
Ah,
satisfying.
okay. Yeah, that was another question, but I can totally get that. It's a bit different when you win with the deck that is you. You know, when it's the deck
Mhm.
that you really, really, really like. I can feel the same. Winning with Gravekeeper, I'm honest, doesn't feel as good as like winning with like my TG build because that's something I love to death. The Gravekeeper is just it's Gravekeeper. It's just a good deck. Uh, especially against Jurek, unfortunately. Unfortunately. So
Yeah.
do you think that there are like any specific strength about the Jurek deck that make it a bit better than people think it is? I mean, you talked a bit about rekindling especially, but is there anything else you say, hey, people uh, underestimate here?
Yeah, I think they do underestimate it because they might read a few of the cards and think they're not very impactful. But I think the normal summons are pretty good. Like a floater's good. Guibe is basically Shura. But I think the strengths of the deck. Drex are a good grindy deck. They're very consistent. You got like all these starters. You have Fossil Digs, um, and you can turbo out Trish very easily. You don't even need Rekindling to make Trish. The deck just makes Trish very easy, and it has an incredibly powerful late game payoff. Another strength is it has a great matchup versus plants, and back to the thing about how people tend to underestimate the Drax because of they might just think they're underwhelming normal summons. I would disagree because every Drac has an effect that gets another Drac. So in a sense, it's kind of like what makes Sky Strikers so powerful because Sky Strikers like everything, like you kind of have access to your whole deck at the like and of course Sky Strikers and Jirax are completely different eras, but the idea behind what makes Sky Striker so good is because you kind of have your whole deck with Engage and with like Shizuku, like you can get like a spell from your deck or a grave to your hand at any time, and so it's very skill reliant on like what card you need at what time. And Jirax kind of work the same way. Velo gets Guiba, Guiba gets Velo, Aeolo gets like all the Jirax get other Jirax, so you need to really think. what Dirac is optimal for this situation. And then like if you want to go on the push, do you want to go for a Dino push to draw 2, or do you want to go for Guaiba and go for synchro play or maintain field presence, get your Velo online? Like that's why the deck is very skill reliant, because you kind of have access to all your normal summons at once. As soon as you get Velo, you have access to your whole deck.
Nice.
Another strength, I think the deck has a lot of strengths. So sorry, I'm just gonna finish
all
up.
good. All good.
Cool. Forbidden Lance is a very powerful card that Jiracs have the luxury of being able to benefit from. It's just a really good card, and then Rekindling is also a really good card. So you're playing these just generically good cards. And also the things that you use to protect your Jirac engine happen to synergize very well with Thunder King, which is like the best card. Like your Lances, your MSTs, your Veilers, your Shrinks, and your Book of Moon, like everything like that. That you would use to protect or advance the Jirac strategy, could be used to control the game with Thunder King, because they're going to try to out your Thunder King with their own tour guides. Boom, Veiler it, right? Or they're going to summon Thunder King, try to crash yours, you lance it, right? So like a lot of the things that they're going to do to try to out your Thunder King, you can protect it and then continue controlling the game and continue to stun your opponent. I also think another strength is that Jiracs just happen to be the best Rekindling deck in the format. And this is going to be a little bit of a hot take, but I think that Jiracs are definitely the best rogue deck when piloted well. And one such evidence towards this is if you look at Tyler TCG Rewind's Tournament of Tournaments, Jiracs got top 4 in that event. I think top 4 was Hero Beat, Infernity, Jirac, and I don't remember the other deck. But I know for sure that those were 3 of the top 4.
Nice. Like we do have a question in our chat. If anyone wants to answer one of my mods, ask a question. You can take part. That's good. So I personally, I think I couldn't have said it better. Like me playing the deck, I think most of the stuff that you said, I agree with. There's one thing I like about the deck personally, and it's like that's a grindy, control-y kind of deck that also can make a push, because that's what I love about TG, to be honest, because that's a grind control deck that in like weird cases can make synchros. It plays a lot different compared to Durex, but still it has like, in my opinion, kind of similar strength in the end, because it's super consistent, super grindy if you want to, but also can do the push. And that's what I like about Durex, that it can play both games. Against heroes, it's more like, for example, from what I've seen, a super, I want to say, slow game, but against like some other decks you need to be fast, and yeah, that's what I like. But I know it's difficult for you to say, but do you think the deck also has some weaknesses?
Yeah, I do, if I'm going to be honest. And I can there's just like I said, they have a lot of strengths. I've also considered their weaknesses. So one weakness of the Jirac deck is a weakness it shares with TGs and heroes. I call it the TG or hero problem. You either open way too many normal summons or not enough, right? Like in Hero Beat, you can open a hand of, well, I guess in TG is too many normal summons, but like in Hero Beat, you can open like Miracle Fusion, Gemini Spark, and all these good cards, but like no monsters, and you just lose because you have nothing, right? Like, and Jiracs can suffer the same problem. If you open like Shrinks, Lances, Rekindlings, and like maybe an Aolo, but like no other Jiracs for Aolo to do anything with, you just auto lose. Or the TG problem, you open way too many normal summons, no traps, no nothing, so you're just sort of sitting there, and you just don't have any real plays except normal summon set, So Jiracs can do the same thing where you just open all these Falsa Digs, all these normal summons, you can't play, or if you open no normal summons, so like you either get too much or too little. Those hands are just sort of unplayable. But it's not like Jiracs are the only deck that have that weakness. Like TG and Heroes are other decks that have that weakness. Another weakness is Jiracs can take a little bit longer to set up than more aggro decks, like Agents or Scraps. Like those decks in like the first 2 or 3 turns, depending on their hands, they can have their boss monsters ready to go. Their Hyperion, their Scrap Dragon, they're ready to go. And if they have that ready to go, you can get outpaced if you don't have an answer for it. Whereas Drax, it takes you a little bit longer to fill your grave up and have your rekindling push. Another weakness, it could be a tough matchup versus Hero Beat and Gravekeeper and more control style decks because of their traps and if their monsters are just too big to get over if you don't have the Lances and Shrinks. Another weakness is it's DD Crow and Maxi. Although they're not game enders, right? Like you can still get DD Crow or Maxi and still
Mhm.
win the game, but they can hurt though. And then back row as well.
Nice, nice. Me personally playing the deck. I started to hate one card more than anything, and that's Catastor. I hate Catastor
Mm.
playing this deck because you play like Shrinks and Lancers, which are like great cards against almost anything, but Catastor. And you do have some outs, of course. I mean, you can do Veiler, you can play Book of Moon, Mind Control, but it's a bit less, I think, than other decks, which can be sometimes difficult, at least from my experience.
Yeah, I do. I agree. I think Catastor can be a problem, and in certain game states, Catastor could just end your the whole game. But what I will say is, at first glance, a lot of people will look at Jirax and think, "Oh, this deck just auto loses to Catastor." Where honestly, that's not the case because there have been a lot of times where my opponent summoned a Catastor and I have an out ready to go. Because the way I play is I tend to play a little conservatively, and I save certain cards for problems. And uh, for example, I always save my Veiler. I never just shotgun it on a tour guide unless, depending on like the game state in the hand, maybe that's the correct play in certain situations. But usually I try not to just shotgun my Veiler, right? So I could like Veiler a Catastor, and then on my turn, I'll have like a normal summon and I'll make Librarian to out it. Or even if they do resolve and they're able to kill my guy, you could use a Rekindling prematurely because your outs to Catastor is going to be Book of Moon, Dark Hole, Minecon, right? But also um, the main out is just summoning Librarian, and
Yeah.
it's actually pretty easy to get a Librarian online because you just need to be able to protect a Drac for a turn, or just get two like if they do kill it, if you have a Rekindling or a Reborn, or like that, if you can just or get a get a Librarian, you can deal with the Catastor.
Yes. Yes. I think that's a really good analysis. So, one thing I found interesting playing these rogue decks, what I also always did is like crafting the deck. You said you put a lot of time to like build the deck and how it is right now and how most people know it. You know, most people know, hey, it's Velo Turbo, kind of. It's maybe not, but that's how I sometimes call it with Aeolo and Rekindlings and Lancers and even Shrinks. Um, how did you come up with the current version of the deck? Did you have like test partners? Did you just play DB random matches? Yeah.
So here's how it all started. I when I first got back into like retro Yu-Gi-Oh, I played like I was telling you about my own custom format December 2011 with my friend Andre.
Mhm.
And it was basically actually that format was basically just Tengu Plant minus a few differences because we did have Tengu Plant in that thing. So I played against Tengu Plant, I played against Chaos, played against Agents, against my friends. So I play tested against him a lot. And a problem I was and I tried different variations of the deck. Because back in the day I used to play the Solidarity version,
Mhm.
and I also played a lot of the Jiracs that don't really see play. Jirac Stariko, Jirac Hera. And I've tried those. Those didn't work out because they're too dependent on the opponent. For those that don't know, Drac Stariko is a level 2 Drac that says if it's destroyed by battle, special summon 2 tokens. Drac Hera is a level 6 Drac that says if a defense position Drac you control is destroyed by battle, special summon this card from your hand or grave. So back when I was a kid, that used to be the best thing ever because my opponent would just keep attacking my defense position Starikos. I would get 2 tokens and summon a big 2300 attack point monster, and it was great. But it's kind of like the same thing. The reason that stuff is not great is because it's like Nordics, right? Like if you play against
Ah.
Nordics,
Mhm.
you might get blindsided game one by attacking into a set, and then once that happens, you won't attack at all, right? You're gonna be very cognizant, and you're gonna use your removal before going in for a push. It's the same thing applies. Like those cards are just too dependent on the opponent. So I decided to cut those and try to reevaluate the deck. And what I did was I looked up online all these different versions. So I tried I tried a bunch of different versions. I saw online like a list with people were playing like three Tengu. Some people were playing like Kinkabayo. Um, and I just tried a bunch of different things. I even tried Solidarity again. And the conclusion I came to was to cut Solidarity to play Thunder King because Thunder King, like I said earlier, the strength where it synergizes, and Valor is so important because what I realized during testing is like if my engine dies, I can't play. Like I tried my body as a shield, I tried everything, but what I had come to the conclusion was that Valor and Lance were just the best cards for protecting your engine.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and then after that, uh, actually, funny story. Long ago, I actually didn't even I wasn't even on Rekindling initially. When I first played it,
Oh,
I was just on like
what?
Solidarity.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Because when I first read it, and this is a long time ago. When I first read it, I was like, oh, but Aeola's the only target. How is this good? But then I realized, okay, well, what if this card said, special summon as many direct Aeolas from your grave as possible? If it said that, then I'd play it. So I started think of it like that. Like, okay, yeah, that's actually pretty good. Um, because I looked at all the other lists online. Some from even like 2012 that were playing like Rekindling, and I was like, damn, like this is pretty good. I tried it out. And just being able to swarm the field like that is so good, especially when it's not like Flamvell you uh where you just have to be lucky and mill all your Flamvells. It's like you can manually put things in your grave by just resolving your card effects and setting up your graveyard. So that's why your kindling is so good. Um yeah, so I removed Solidarity, added Valors and Thunder King. I put more MSTs in the main deck because you need a clear back row.
Mhm.
For a long time, I was on 3, but I've cut it down to 2 to make space for Upstart and more consistency, especially because MST is a little bit more matchup dependent, where it might be great against heroes and Gravekeepers TGs, but bad against, say, agents, right? So um, I think 2 MSTs on triple Upstart and also triple Lance and Heavy is like a good sweet spot to be in, where like you're not going to be completely blindsided by
Mhm.
control, but you're also not going to be bricking on like a bunch of back row removal against agents. Um, Someone in the Discord suggested I added Minecon after my first tournament top, and I thought that was a great idea because I'm on like so many tuners. So I put Minecon in over a few times, and then I've just been continuously experimenting with the deck ever since started playing online. And I've been heavily involved in the Discord where people share their ideas. And I've tried several techs like Spirit of Flames, Trigodia, a more control version with traps. I've
Mhm.
revisited Solidarity. I've tried lists with Tengu. And just through trial and error, I figured out what works best and what doesn't. And I've eventually added upstarts to for max consistency.
Nice. Nice. That's great to hear. I mean, I personally, after trying your version of the deck first, I also tried some other stuff like playing with Skill Drain in the main deck because maybe that's who I am. And I
Hmm.
think even that works not as bad as you think because, like, besides Guaiba, everything else works under Skill Drain for Durex.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
I
I think Skill
just,
Drain's great.
I hate agents. I just hate agents. I just want to beat them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've I've tried Skill Drain as well, except in the side deck.
I mean, yeah. I don't think it works on the main deck after my testing. So one thing I saw before the podcast, I tried to research, hey, what are direct topping decks? Went to like Yu-Gi-Oh top decks and all that, and I went through all topping lists with direct Griber, for example, and found only Dino Rabbit, Dino Firefist Rabbit, one or two like True King decks way back in the day, and one weird stun deck, and that's it. Like I didn't find any Durax topping, even a regional, at least not uploading anything, and that's interesting because it seems like it's working out. At least like maybe if it's not in the top decks, it's still like in the below the top decks group from deck that can top quite a lot. Like for example, scraps or these kind of decks.
Mhm.
Um.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead. You can.
Oh, thank you. I think the reason for that is just it was kind of overlooked and underexplored from a competitive lens, right? Like people just saw this as like another trash archetype from Hidden Arsenal or Dual Terminal, and they just sort of like look past it. But I genuinely feel like if some like pro players, like Billy Brake, Jesse Cotton, like upper echelon players were to like take a look at this deck, like and give it like an innovative treatment, I think it could have done well. Like a lot of times I tend to fantasize about like I wish I was a decent player back then because I was
Ah.
just a middle school kid. I didn't really understand
Mhm.
the complexities or nuances of Yu-Gi-Oh. But I wish if I could go back in time, I would love to play this format like historically back then and top with Jirax to give it the recognition it deserves because I feel very confident that with my current like brain, I'd be able to to do really good in tournaments, especially if I'm going to them frequently. Like, I might scrub out here or there, but I think I'd definitely top at least one of them.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's always a fun thing to see. I can tell you, back in the day, I also played TG besides gadgets a lot because it was just a cheap deck. That's
Hmm.
mostly the reason, and I did pretty well. And I at that time didn't know how good the deck was until like people top YCSs with it. Like even I think one top four it and it won some kind of tournament. It was like crazy for me that a deck I play is that good. But yeah, fun to think and reminisce. Hey, maybe I could have been the guy. And especially
Yeah.
for Durex, it's even a bit more. So what I talked about in the beginning a bit, and what I want to get into it at least a bit, like when we go more to the end of the discussion, is I think one strength for Durex is that it's surprising to play against it. Maybe not as much anymore, especially if you're playing it right now in the online scene, but like in general, especially if you play against people who don't know the format that much. How important do you think surprise is? And maybe did it help you in YCS Vegas a bit?
Oh, it did for sure. And I want to say surprise factor is good. It's a huge leverage, but I think it's important to not rely on it. Because you're not always going to be playing against a player who is inexperienced and doesn't know how to play against it. But I will say, when you have that surprise factor and you're going up against someone who doesn't know how to play the deck for the first time, it's not just the first game. The whole match, they're going to be misplaying. They're not going to know how to play against it. And as an experienced direct player, it is so easy to exploit those misplays, right? Like an example is Velo crashing Tengu. They might leave all their Velos or all their Tengus up in attack, and you can clear all of them um and just like plus like crazy. Like, because the way Tengu works is Tengu's chainlink 1 because it's mandatory. Velo is always going to be chainlink 2 because it's optional. So a more experienced Tengu Plant player would wait to see what you summon, right? So if I summon Velo in attack, then they're going to summon their Tengu in attack. If I summon, or no, they're going to summon their Tengu in defense, so they can stop my chain and then still have a body on field. But sometimes I'll play against somebody and they don't wait for me. They don't realize like how the chain links work, and they'll just summon a Tengu like right away. And I'm like, hold on, guy, let me. It's chainlink 1 Tengu, chainlink 2 Velo. Let me summon first, and I'll summon like a Velo in attack position. And I'm like, does your play change at all? And they'll say no. And I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't really understand what's happening here. Because I'm giving him the courtesy to fix his misplay, and he's not taking it. And then I could easily take advantage of that. And there's a lot of times. So people will choose to attack into Jirac, Velo, and then I just feel my grave. Um, they might max C at the wrong time. Uh, things like that. Like, there's a lot of like minor things that seem minor, but like you can exploit and just steal the whole game. I just, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean that's good to know. And I mean, one thing that I've seen when playing the game is I like Maxi in the side, and I like maxing tour guide with this deck. That's one of the only decks I like to maxi a tour guide, not always, depending on the end, because they often just leave the tour guide then up, and then you can guaiba over it, and it's like you. It's maybe even better than if they made an exceed, but they don't want to make the Leviathan, of course, on a maxi because you get two draws. Yeah, that's something I often see, and I think making Leviathan is almost always the right play. You get drug.
Yeah, I think so too. Because then it forces them to use a lance or a shrink on you.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I think so too. I like it. So I guess you said it before, but you think that if someone else picks up Jurek, they could also do good if they like get a bit experience with the deck.
Yes, I think so. I think it would just take a lot of dedication and time and effort, because it's not like a deck you could just pick up like Agents or Hero Beat and just like just go and do well. Because the deck is very punishing on misplays. Um, it's very like there are so many lines, and you gotta it's like Infernity in that sense, where it's like you need to like really watch your replays and like really get a good sense of yeah. So I think if you put in a lot of effort, anyone can learn it. It's just a lot of people just don't have the experience.
Yes. If we talk about surprise, do you think for you yourself, is it bad that everyone knows that you're on Jurek? That people like know what to expect when they play you? I mean, you played other decks sometimes, but you're still like on in the honor scene known as the Jurek guy.
Not really, honestly, because I kind of feel I kind of view like I view that like the default, right? Like I view my opponent playing optimally as like the default, and then if I do catch someone off guard or by surprise and they don't know how to play against me, that's like a pleasant surprise. So I don't use that as like a crutch or anything. I sort of when I'm playing against and I'm getting playtesting and practice online on Dueling Book, and I play against someone who's a little more inexperienced, I'll actually tell them and guide them like, hey, um, just so you know, if your Guaiba crashes my Velo, um, it will trigger. Like I'll warn them, I'll let them know before they do it. Versus in a tournament setting, I won't do that. Like in a tournament setting, I will in a tournament I'm playing to win,
Yeah.
right? So in a tournament, if my opponent misplays, I will capitalize on that and exploit it, definitely. But in online playtesting, I will I will kind of coach my opponent if they're making a serious misplay and be like, hey man, you probably don't want to do that, or hey, direct Waiba will trigger it crashes because I want to get good practice.
Yeah, yeah, that's really nice. I think it can help. Like myself, I'm thinking about when playing the Tengu War League, and often in these War Leagues, people do like a lot of research on the opponent. At least from what I've seen in
Hmm.
Edison, and then people will just assume that I'm the stun guy because I won the tournament with Gravekeeper and TG, so they expect these decks, and then you can even like, hey, I have 2 or 3 other decks in my arsenal that I don't play that often. Then I play one of these decks, and oh, I surprise you, and then do like the opposite. I think that's kind of fun. Maybe you'll do that too, right? Maybe you'll show up with the agent sometime.
Maybe I'm not opposed to showing up with a different deck if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. Because I'll play other decks. I just love Drax so much. Like this upcoming Tengu Mania, I'm thinking of trying something else, but then I'm like, I could try this. I could try Drax again. I could try this different variation. Like, I'm just
Yeah,
I don't know. So many are fun to play. Go ahead.
I totally understand that. With the last Tangomania, it was same with me. I thought, like, what do I do? I want to play something different. When you qualified already for the Worlds, you don't have that much pressure. And then in the end, I said, I haven't played TGs in a while, and no one played the deck at all. Of course, more people play it than Direct, but it still feels so similar because I think it's so strong that no one played the deck. And yeah, that's why I picked it up again. And I feel a bit like you, I think. So I just mentioned the Tengu Worlds, and one thing that you've did, I think that showed the strength of the deck is you qualified for the Tengu Worlds with Durex.
Yes.
This is like one of the like for people listening here and who haven't heard about that, we have a Tengu World Championship. It's basically invitational tournament. We have I think 7 big tournaments during the year, and if you make it to around the top 4 to top 6, depending on how many people play, you'll get an invite to the big tournament at the end of the year where you can win a lot of prize money. I think we at least have like $500 already in the prize pool. Thank you to TCG Rewind and Photoshooty for getting these prizes ready. And these Tangomania tournaments or invitational tournaments for TCG Rewind are the biggest tournaments we host in the online Tango scene, around 50 players, what I said. And topping with that is a big accomplishment, topping that with especially like a roguey kind of decks, because in these tournaments people bring out only the good decks, like the deck they think can win the most. So do you have any other goals with Jurek now since you've accomplished this thing?
Uh, yeah. I want to succeed in other formats. So well, I have a few goals. I want to try some other decks too because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I've already proved Direct. But I also want to continue to prove it. So, I this isn't to say like I'm going to stop playing Direct. I'm still going to play it, have fun in top tournaments. Because the thing is with Direct, like I've honestly, I consistently top with this deck. It's a lot of fun and it's a solid contender. But I also want to try and break other rogue strategies. Right now, I'm currently working on I'm still trying to figure out how to make Notoria good. Um, I feel like Notoria has potential. They have some good floaters, and some good stun monsters. So I'm just sort of brainstorming with that. I'm still in the process. I don't have anything solid yet, but I'm working on trying to figure out how to make that good. I have another goal. I want to succeed in other formats like Goat format and Edison. I want to give those formats some good attention and earn some tops in those online tournaments as well. With some interesting decks, and I want to try innovating in those formats as well. I've innovated in Edison a few times, but I want to innovate competitively. And then I also want to try new formats like Firewater, Hat, especially Hat. I'm really excited. I've never played it before, but considering it's probably like the next popular format under Tengu or like under Goat. Um, I wanna I want to try out Hat. I've never played it before. I was not playing during that time, but from what I understand, I think Drax could be playable in that format. So my plan is to learn the format first, and then once I've learned the format, know what the cards do, know how to counter it, then I'll start crafting a Drac deck based on that meta, which is really exciting because Blaster, the Dragon Ruler, is in that format. So it'd be pretty cool to give Drax like a boss monster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. I love the head deck personally. Back in the day, I played it a lot because Chainbeat was a good playable deck. That's my favorite deck of all time. If you heard of that, it's like White Up Rabbit and Evilthorn Thunderbird and Black Garden, and you just play 20 traps and protect these small monsters. Yeah, that's
Sounds like a lot of fun. I'm really excited to learn it because I've never played against that before.
yes,
Yeah.
If you want to start playing that, I'll play with you. But
Oh,
it's
cool. Okay.
it's great to hear. And I mean, maybe it's a bit sad for you that you didn't go all the way with the Jurek, especially in the big tournament that you qualified for World with. But I think the reason for that was honestly only because you played against the worst matchup ever in tops against Gravekeepers. I think
Yeah.
personally, I think it's the only like matchup I don't really want to play with against with Jurek, especially game one seems bad. I think the other game two and three are okay, but game one is pretty bad. So yeah, I hope next time you'll have it a bit better. So
Thank you.
saying all that, I mean, you have a strong opinion on the deck, right? And people will
Mhm.
maybe say you have a too strong opinion on the deck. But if you try to look at it a bit objectively, even though I don't like the word, what do you think? How good is the deck compared to the top decks? Do you think where it the place in the meta compared to the other like super highly competitive decks?
I think Drax's place in the meta depends on the pilot. Just like Infernities or Tengu Plant, right? Like a new player picking up Tengu Plant or Infernities or Dirac, they're not going to perform well because they don't have that experience, right? But an experienced player with Dirac can and will consistently top. And I think like I'm evidence of that because I do consistently top tournaments with Dirac. Uh, I think um, if a Dirac deck is poorly piloted, it's on the lower end of Rogue because it's very pilot dependent. But if it's skillfully piloted, I think it's the best Rogue deck. Period. Because it's just so much more powerful than all the other Rogue decks. It's like right under, like honestly, it's like right under meta decks. The reason I don't put it with like tier one is because it's very unforgiving of misplays. But Dirac is a deck that's like it has defeated other top decks before. Um, I can't put it in tier one because it does have weaknesses. But it is a very powerful deck, and I think its strengths are very, very, very strong. And I think even against things that are like tough matchups, I have won a lot of those tough matchups. Like I've beat Hero beat plenty of times. I've beat actually against you. I don't think I've beat your Gravekeeper list, but I have beat other Gravekeepers. Because the matchup isn't that bad. I mean, it's bad, right? But like you can still win because the side deck is very tailored. I have triple
Yeah,
decree,
yeah.
double close forest. You can make level sevens very easily, and if you can make an ancient fairy dragon and then protect it with your lances and your veilers, and you just kind of you shift strategy, right? In the Gravekeeper matchup, instead of protecting Velo, you have to shift strategy to protect your ancient fairy dragon to prevent them from playing. Um, and then also some incidental things like the upstarts and fossil digs are kind of bypass the turn one royal tribute. So if they turn one royal tribute you, because you're on such a low monster count, it's possible they might not hit anything. So there's like weird things like that where like you're actually okay. And then the triple MST, triple lance thing can help you out. But it's not like it's legitimately pretty strong. I think it gets slept on. It gets underestimated a lot. But I got to say like tier 1.25 probably. Like it's up there. It gets stronger than tier 1.5. I think like it's a very strong deck, and I've beat a lot of the top decks with it. It's just if you play it correctly, if it's piloted skillfully, I think it's a very solid contender.
You heard it here for the first time. If you have a different opinion, you can put it into the YouTube comments after the video got uploaded. So try to argue, but try to be nice.
Yeah,
I guess that's nearly it. So I have one or two last questions for you before we wrap up. Talk for 1.5 hours. Nice. I like it. I like your enthusiasm for the format, for retro Yu-Gi-Oh in general, and especially for like your deck. That's something that, of course, you all know people who have their pet deck. I think in every local you have like players of special decks, but you show that having a pet deck doesn't mean you need to do poorly in tournaments, right? Because that's like the stereotype of these pet deck players, right? They always play the same deck. They always go 2-3 at their locals, and that's it.
Mhm.
So, do you have any expectations for the future? Not only for Jurek, but in general, especially for like Tengu War League. Do you have like anything you see? Hey, this is what I expect to see people playing. That's what I expect to see maybe happening after Tengu War League.
Yeah. I expect. I think with more eyes on the format, I'm expecting lots of people trying out Catsith Chaos. I think it's a very powerful contender. I also am expecting. If you take a look at the last few tournaments, there's been a lot of the last few online tournaments. There's been a lot of diversity, a lot of people trying new things. But Tengu War League is going to be a lot more competitive. People are going to try really hard to win. So I'm expecting for Tengu War League a lot less of those innovative. I mean, there's still going to be innovation, right? But like a lot less of those more rogue strategies, like and I think in Tengu War League, I'm expecting to see Catsith Chaos, Agents, Hero Beat, TG Stun, Plants, things like that. I'm expecting a lot of Catsith. I'm still expecting innovation because like Infernity is like hot right now. Like ever since BS45, he innovated with the Gold Sark, and now other players are topping with it. So I think Infernity is going to see a lot more play. I don't know if it'll see a lot of play in War League. We'll see. But in general for the format, I'm expecting Infernity and Catsith to see a lot more play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I've one last question for you, and that's here like thing I'll put you onto it in 3 weeks. What deck do you think will win Tengu Mania 7?
I actually haven't decided what deck I'm gonna play yet, so I don't know the answer to that question because
nice. So anything that you'll play, okay. We'll see it in 3 weeks then.
yeah, we'll see it in 3 weeks.
Okay, perfect. Do you have any last word shout out you want to give?
Yeah, shout out to Playtest RL, shout out to Team Trailblazers, shout out to TCG Rewind, Tyler, shout out to the Tengu Plant Town Discord. Yeah, shout out to all y'all. Shout out to you, Shinuslaw. And yeah, before we go though, could I could I here I have 4 lists that I've topped with. Is it possible if we could show them to the audience?
Yes.
I'll send them to you on Discord right now.
Yes, I just need a few seconds, I think. So while I'm waiting for you, I just want to say thank you already for being on here. It was super fun. I think people will also have a lot of fun. Will have a lot of fun talking to you and showing you and listening to that and listening to your special ideas that you've shown us. So let me take like 1 second because to open all these things up, then I need to show them on stream. Need to open the streaming thingy and then just align this a bit. Need 1 second. Because I had a PowerPoint only. Okay, then give me just 1 second to open the browser list. Oh, that's perfect. That's also wrong. Great. Like you all see. Oh no! Now I deleted the wrong thing. Oh my god! I'm so bad.
Sorry.
I should have been prepared for that. It's all good. I put on that again. and now I'm gone again. I'll try my best. If not, I'll just link all of them afterwards. Give me one more, and I'll try it once. This one is the right one. Decks.
No worries if it's not possible. It's okay.
Oh no, it is possible. I'm just not super good at it. Okay, just like do it like this. Everyone sees us. They don't have to see me. I'll prepare the rest afterwards. So this is the first list on screen right now. You can see it, right? It's not super big. Maybe I can zoom in a bit.
So for the audience, this is the first deck that topped. This is I got third place in, I think, Tengu Plant Takeover. I don't remember which one, but I got third place. This is my first top of the deck.
Nice. This one
Yeah.
is the second one, I guess.
And the next one, that is when I got first place. That was another Tengu Plant Takeover.
Nice.
That's my first ever time getting first with the deck. In a somewhat big online tournament. I had added Minecon for the first time, and then the next one is that's the list. Yeah, that one is the one that got top 8 at the invitation for Worlds.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one where I got my invite. And then the last one is the Upstart list, which is the one that I got top 4 in the most recent tournament.
Nice.
Yeah. So just those are the top. Those are the 4 lists that have topped. I feel like they've gradually improved over time. Yeah. And just so the audience could see what's topped historically, and then maybe they could test with that.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't think of that, but that's a good idea. Again, thank you for being here, and thank you for talking to me. I had a lot of fun. I'll put the link to the Discord, hopefully, in the description of the YouTube video. And if you want to see someone else on the stream, on this podcast, please let me know. I already have the next guest lined up for in about 2 weeks, I'd say. It will be a true hero, the founder of the Tengu War League.
And thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was a total blast. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I hope we'll talk again soon. Thank you everyone who joined the stream. Thank you everyone who wrote a few questions. I'll try to rate someone, but I get the only person I know that's currently online is a German friend of mine. So I guess I'll just rate him. If you want to be interested in the official voice actor for Final Fantasy 16 is the newest one, of the main character, you can watch him play Final Fantasy on stream right now. So have fun. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.